under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Gentlemen, get a chance to look the minutes over.
I did.
Any additions or corrections?
No, I didn't see anything. You seen some?
Oh, it's, the historical, to approve and sign letter or support,
Letter of support?
yeah,
Okay, I'm looking at it right now. I got it.
move to approve.
Okay.
Second.
All right. Gary made the motion to approve the minutes with the correction. Tracy seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
How about the claims?
I guess the only question I have, Haley, on the, evidently the check got come back on conservation.
Which one?
Conservation, there was evidently bad checks or something.
Oh, yeah, they get those from camping fees and stuff.
Yeah, so then the conservation goes after them then?
They try to, yeah. We have to go through the bank process and, yeah,
Okay.
it's usually, and we try to recoup that cost to that person. The NSF charges or whatever, yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty common, we get those.
Really?
Unfortunately, yeah. It, we haven't seen them as much this year because there hasn't been as much camping. So, but years past, been kind of concerning.
Mm.
You know, almost makes you want to stop taking checks.
Mm-hmm.
So that may be something.
Because the sign posted at the campgrounds usually say there will be a fee if it's an NSF.
You may want to, well, that's all done without anyone there. I mean, so you can't hardly do a credit card or debit card. So,
What is the camping rate for this year compared to other years?
I don't know it off the top of my head,
They
but
don't do the season passes anymore. right?
correct.
Mm.
It was, I don't remember what it was. I think it averaged out like $16.50 and
I don't have a clue.
and that's if you bought a booklet.
No, not the rate, the usage.
Oh, like for the electrical bill?
Oh, I'm sorry.
How
I
many,
don't know.
how many camping days did we have this year compared to like last year or the year before?
Well, of course, we didn't have as many.
Yeah, that's a conservation question. I
Yeah.
don't know that we'd have a clue. Okay, so are you approving those claims?
Yes, I am.
Okay,
Second.
make the motion. Okay. Tracy made the motion to approve the claims as presented. Gary seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And around came the law enforcement contract for the city of Bridgetown.
Yep. Oh my God.
motion.
Second.
Gary made the motion to approve the law enforcement contract with the city of Blairstown, and Tracy seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 So I worked on this care stuff this weekend and read through everything. So with me having some deadlines, I have one this Friday, I'm gonna send in the one for the Secretary of State, gives so much per precinct. So I could get up to 22,000 for election stuff. Even though I haven't spent all that yet, I think I can recoup costs of my extra worker that I had come in, extra envelopes, postage. And then what I don't spend of that, I have to give back. So this is that portion that you have to sign. And then the other stuff, the guidelines, I have to at least have $3,300 to go through FEMA first before I can get the difference cost. So what I'm gonna do is I think I'm gonna submit those foggers and more of the general, those couple things, and get up to that 3,300,
Okay.
and then cut that one off, because I'm gonna do a bunch of stuff back and forth.
So with the foggers, is that something with the sheriff's office as well?
Yeah, I
that
think
you
I'm
can
gonna
throw in?
use all of the different ones and
Okay.
make that, like, consider that as a project.
Sure.
FEMA,
Okay.
and try to keep it a minimum.
Okay.
And then the rest I can go through that CARES, so then we have to do that resolution and lump sum. So I'm still working with Ron, because some of that public health, safety officers, we could recoup some of their wages as well. I
Mhm.
mean, only if they went above and beyond because of the COVID. So
No.
like having to dig at the service center because of fucking pumps prior to that law change with the guns, I think I can cover that time frame.
Good.
So yeah, so like if we can approve you to sign the grant app for that one, and then the resolution is for the CARES Act. Because
Okay.
of the deadline, otherwise we have to meet again. And then I'm gonna fill those amounts in for sure before we approve them in the minutes next week.
All right.
Does that make sense?
So we need a motion to adopt the resolution for the CARES reimbursement and to authorize the signature.
And the grant agreement
For
with
the grant.
Secretary of State.
So move.
Second.
Okay. Tracy made that motion. Gary seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay.
And then this one needs signed.
Yep. And then the resolution I'll get, or I'll bring
Okay.
back for you guys to sign that one. That one's due the 15th, so I'll have time next Tuesday. This is Friday.
Thank you. It's a little over 25,000.
That's just for the
There's 22
election,
there.
election stuff, and
And then the
then
3,300 you said was the other
that
one?
was for FEMA, and then, I think I can get recoup another like 20 some off the other.
Really? Nice. Good. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning. How you doing?
Probably better than I deserve. Any reports quickly?
No.
I had a better tomorrow meeting. And like Forrest Gump, that's all I got to say about that.
You have that resolution for Mark that
Oh, it's over there.
I tweaked it, but I just didn't know his name for sure to put on there.
I copied it all.
Okay.
Thank you.
I figured I'd better explain it.
Thank you.
Did you have the same thing, Haley?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then I started the resolution.
Good girl. Hopefully they'll want to approve it.
Okay, mark it at quarter after. shall
Okay.
we?
As you can see here, we have a variance request. And the request is coming to you by way of Mike Brain, but it's actually for Craig Ollinger and Stanley Geiken. Their parcel, they want to try to do a little land transaction. And I copied a copy of the aerial for you so that you could try to put it into perspective a little bit what they want to do. They just want to create this small little 1400ths of an acre parcel. It would be approximately right here on the southeast side of that driveway. As he says in the variance request, gives them a little more room for the driveway area there, basically. As you can see, the property line basically comes right up along it, and it kind of looks like part of it might even be, by looking at this aerial, I didn't go look at the old plat of survey, but the gist of it is he just wants to obtain a little more ground. There's no building going on here, nothing at all. And so my suggestion is that if indeed you guys were willing, just vary all of the provisions of the subdivision ordinance. Don't make them do any subdivision platting for this 1400ths of an acre. It would merely allow them to do a simple plat of survey and record that parcel C. They're willing sellers, there's nothing that's going to happen here, no improvements, otherwise it's just that Craig
Two parties
Ollinger.
are getting along then, Mark?
Yes, Craig Ollinger would just then own this piece right here where his driveway is coming in, and it would crop off over here along Stan's driveway. So it's a willing situation.
I don't have no problem.
Okay, was that second then?
Yep.
All right.
And that'll be my resolution.
Okay, Gary made the motion to approve the variance. Tracy seconded, and Beershank already voted aye.
Aye.
Seaman aye, and Primer aye.
Okay.
Got a signature, each of you, please.
Oh, I gotta tweak that then. So do you want me to put Craig's name on that then? Or do you want me to put both?
Well, actually, it's a split for, owned by Stan and Nancy Geiken at this point, so
Okay.
I would say you would not need Ollinger's, no.
I'll tweak this then. and put
It's just
Jen's
waiving
on.
all provisions of the subdivision to allow for a simple plat of survey.
Okay, yours for later.
Yeah, for next week. Okay.
"63rd Street is at the bottom."
Yes.
It's about 4 miles south of town.
Just a little less than a half mile east of 218.
Kind of an interesting place to put the home
Can you
site.
switch those numbers around since we did them in different order, and then I'll have you print or sign it.
Right, there's your existing house.
It's up here, isn't it?
Yeah, it's right there. Yeah, come in, it's right in here.
Yeah, this is where the,
Sure it isn't up here?
it's right here, I thought, right there. Or is it there? There it is, yeah.
Oh,
There it is.
The house is right here, isn't it? That's where the house is.
Right here. Right there.
That's the house?
Yeah, that's the house.
That's what I
This is the
see.
pumpkin building, or what used to be the pumpkin building.
I can't see that. can
It's
you?
difficult to see, yeah, on that aerial.
Mark, do you want me to just put all provisions instead of all the articles?
All provisions.
Okay, tweak that then.
Or just say the subdivision ordinance in its entirety, if that's easier for you. Okay, you want me to do it? All right. This is a farm exemption application from Jason and Angie Sanders. They currently live in Utah. And Jason has been in contact with us on numerous occasions here recently. He wants to build a new home on the farm. The existing farmhouse is there, staying, basically. All the farm buildings, as you can see by the associated map there, that he wants to build towards the north end of the parcel. It'd be within, generally, the existing building area, building site area there, or north of the farm buildings, pretty much. There wouldn't be any land that's going out of production there. Jason is a part of the family farm operation, wants to move back here and be a part of it. And there is over 200 acres here that is being farmed at this location in section 4. And so he definitely qualifies for an agricultural exemption. Or farm exemption, I should say. He has talked to us about building the home and septic system and all of that. So basically, there really is no issue with this particular project at all. So he does qualify for the farm exemption.
Okay. And they're gonna run the driveway that far?
That's what he has proposed at this point, yeah. Some of that may be a little fluid right now, I'm guessing, but nonetheless,
Sure.
that's what he's proposed.
It's kind of odd that he's putting a house clear back there.
We haven't really gotten into the nuts and bolts. Assuming that you were okay with this, we're gonna be meeting and I'll be going over finer details with him here in the very near future, because he wants to be able to get this going, is my understanding, so.
Very familiar with the property, but no problems. Is there a motion or question?
So he's actually engaged in the farming practice right now?
He's part of the farm operation. See, our ordinance does not say that you have to be actively engaged. It says that you are engaged in a farm operation. So let's just take that a step further. Let's say that I own this land. I might not even live there, but I could rent the ground out to you. I don't do anything as far as farming, but I have a farm operation, technically. And so at this point, just conversations with him, he's coming back to become more involved in all of that, but he is a part owner of it now. And so he doesn't have to be out there actually tilling any land or raising any livestock or anything actively. But he's engaged in it because, you know, it's part of his, he's part of the operation.
Could be involved in the management of.
I don't know if you know any of the situation, and I don't necessarily need to go into all of his stuff, but basically, he does qualify and he is part of the operation, so.
Well, it meets the criteria, so I have no problem.
Okay.
Motion then, all right?
Second.
All right. Tracy made the motion to approve the farm exemption, and Gary seconded that application for Jason and Angie Sanders. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Good. Thank you.
I will notify. Thank you, gentlemen. Haley?
Yeah.
got for today.
All right.
It's enough, I guess. Gotta go out in the rain,
Wow, it's
See.
chilly.
see what damage I can do out there.
That's quite a change in temperatures.
Yeah, really. It's incredible.
Guess we'll keep doing this all week, isn't it?
I think so.
Go from that area to the furnace.
Have a good rest of your meeting. See
Yeah.
ya.
Thank you. Yeah, I heard the air conditioning kick in a little bit ago.
That one here,
Yeah,
did you turn it off?
didn't touch it.
Oh, sometimes we're controlled over there too. I'm gonna go get that resolution and I'll just have to turn it off for that now.
Thank you.
Contract, rest on,
Oh,
we okayed it.
okay, sure.
Just gonna sign it.
How many more than we have?
Not a clue.
Should be about done. For a year.
I didn't even look, that's for 2020, not 2021, isn't it?
Well, it's for, effective date July 1, 2020, so it's for a year.
July 1, July 1.
Renewal on June 30th, 21.
Should probably just sign two of them for it.
What's that?
Well, maybe the rate might change,
Yeah.
or the hours. Well, we got a few minutes if you need a break. Get your initials on this, please.
Does,
Thank you.
does the federal designation of us, whatever it is that, it has to change what we're eligible for, but does it change it at the county?
Each county was allowed so much per capita, so we can go up to 300 and, I think it's 57,000. But if you don't spend it on COVID stuff, you have to give it back. So right now, the first period was through July 31st. And then we have from July 31st, I think it's till October or something the date is. But I look for that to keep extending too. But if
But,
it was above and beyond what we had originally budgeted for.
so, this is COVID stuff, but this disaster, we've got.
Oh, as far as the individual,
Oh, that's the derecho one? Yeah, that'll be different.
So are we gonna get some money out of that?
Well, as far as right now, like our sheriff vehicles and the towers have insurance. So the only thing I could get back would be our deductible. And I don't even know if that'll be the 3,300. The conservation and the secondary roads have to do their own. They'll probably have more than that worth, so. But then the individual cities and individual homeowners have to apply for their own. since it was opened up to individuals. So they all have to get on and file the same kind of paperwork.
So the damage that you had, what's not covered by insurance, you could file
Individually.
individually for compensation for that deductible or the portion the insurance didn't cover.
Wow. And where do we get the paperwork for this?
It's all online, so you have to start your own access login with the FEMA.
I believe we got a link to it on our emails,
From Scott,
so.
or your city.
And how you qualify is how much money you make too.
It looks at your income. There's all kinds of factors.
What a deal.
And it's based on past income, not current. And so, I mean, if you've lost your crops, that's this year, not what it was on your tax filings from last year.
We've already had people calling on the
That's kind of
taxes
a rip.
because they lost their buildings, but they don't understand the tax values on the prior year, so yes, you still owe the taxes.
Yeah.
You know, it's a little different for city folks than it is farm folks. I mean, as far as like a crop, you lose a whole crop, you might lose hundreds of thousands of dollars. And the city folks, all they got's a house or whatever, maybe a business, like you got a business. And it's more, well, I shouldn't say it's more stable, but
Everything's relative. You know, income and expenses, it's all relative. You know, if you made $100,000 and you had your expenses out of that, or if you made $500,000 and had expenses, I mean, in comparison, yeah, it's, you may handle bigger money, but you have bigger expenses.
I mean, from one year to the next,
Right,
how it affects you.
yep.
You
Well,
know,
there's no doubt that a regular paycheck is kind of nice and stable, but anybody that's self-employed, it doesn't happen. You guys are self-employed, as farmers as I am, as a business person, you know. So, we understand, you know. And we also understand the frustrations. So,
you just might as well forget it.
well, based on the need right now, but I mean, you may have a need now and have losses now that need covered, but they base it off of what your income tax filings were previously.
Nancy's watching something on that with the payroll too, or you can waive their withholdings or whatever. But if you do that, and they get more take home, but then they're gonna come back and still get that back taxes and we'll have to withhold it again, so then their take home will be less later on. I just
I haven't
don't,
understood that. I
no,
mean, if you do waive the withholding, that doesn't, with the county, I mean, we still have to pay that share.
right, but
It's
the
the
individual.
individuals.
So then when those individuals, when they say we have to go back and take that back out, their take home will be less again.
Well, it's when
And
they
then-
file their taxes,
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just think that'll be,
it's a double-edged sword. Yeah, I get it.
just like we found out. Yeah. Even though if we tell them to save that and put it towards,
Mhm. Well, if they're used to getting a tax refund, they may not get a tax refund because they didn't have as many taxes withheld,
Right.
which all makes sense, but
I don't know, they give you a refund?
Yeah, I know.
I've heard of those things.
What the heck is this? I get a, where do you apply for this?
when you have college kids, that's the only thing that helps me right now.
I was up here Thursday morning, put a plate on the bottom of the drop box to stiffen it up.
Sure.
Mark did not like it because when you open the door,
Would it catch?
well, it's
Oh,
swung.
oh, yeah,
It's
yeah,
flimsy, you know what I mean?
right.
So he had Ideal Industries make a plate. Kind of give them a blueprint, what to make it, and how to make it, and they did it, made it out of 1/4-inch steel, and we took it off, folded the plate underneath it, and I mean, it's a lot more rigid now, but, as I was doing it Thursday, I said, well, it stood up to the 90-mile winds you guys had here 3 weeks ago, didn't it?
Yeah.
But that plate's done, so then, after that was done, then I went over to the service center, and I straightened the flagpole. That was kinked back.
They ever cut it off?
Nope,
No?
nope,
What you do is push it straight.
more or less.
Now that I had Mark put those signs for no ballot drops, did you see that? They changed that now,
No,
which I'm just gonna wait a little bit. So now they might let us use it as a ballot drop box, but
Oh,
then
really?
I
No.
would have to be the only one that
take
would
them
have
out.
access to it.
Hmm.
And we do have a camera on it, so I'm already covered for that, but, yeah. First they said no, and now they might let us.
I can't keep up on that.
It's back and forth.
Yep.
Every week I get new rules and
I
regulations.
also talked to Randy Jensen about getting that,
Out of there?
yep,
Okay,
last week.
good.
And I still have all that stuff on for next week, right? For the discussion on, because of the August, or September 15th date.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
And then is the Katie Cox coming back? Do you know?
Supposed to.
Okay.
You seen that, did you read that, Gary? About from Benton today?
Yeah.
That's the unfortunate, I mean, it's like wildfire, can spread.
there again, I'm going back,
I know.
is that person sick or just tested positive? My question is,
Well, the bottom line is, doesn't matter if they have to quarantine individuals that came into contact. So, let's go back. I mean, that was the nice thing about having a list of who's coming in. Then you can go back. And the walk-ins, it's gonna be hard to do that unless you've got a sign-in sheet, and we may have to do that.
there is a sign-in sheet. Yeah, you gotta sign in.
Yep.
You gotta sign in, even if you ain't got an appointment.
I know I haven't signed in, but yeah.
I haven't either, but like over the weekend, I had quite a few people come up to me and say, can you do this for me, do this for me, do this for me?
Yeah.
There are some mistakes. Quite a deal.
Big turnout Friday morning, wasn't it? Watkins,
Oh,
unbelievable. So I gotta commend the sheriff, he come down and controlled traffic for the funeral on Friday. It was a county employee that passed away.
Oh, sure.
Big turnout. So, I wanna thank Ron for
yeah,
stepping up and
did a good job. That was very nice.
Edwards, I was trying to think, last week was so nuts. Pickering come up Wednesday night, and he stubbed in the lines underneath the walls for everything. Just stubbed the lines in, did not take it out to the street. And Edwards worked, I believe, Thursday and Friday. He's got the drains and the water lines and all that ran and stubbed up through the gravel. And Fortain is supposed to come up and put the floor drains in starting tomorrow. And then once that's done, then Edwards will have to come back and hook the clean out boxes up to, from the clean out boxes up to the sewer. And then we're ready for Smith,
Good,
so.
good. You know, we've got a little time before frost and freezing, but it's good to get done. So, all those freeze warnings out for northern,
Snow in Colorado.
I just heard that.
Snowing there now, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
They're talking a foot.
Oh my. Not ready for that yet.
Did get my new roof then, so I'm good.
You got it done?
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll be able to get everything done or not.
Well, it'll come together fast again. Once everybody gets working again.
Yeah.
I printed one of these off. There was another one I did not print off regarding Adam. I gave you the cover sheet with it,
Mhm.
but, yeah. Went to the football game on Friday, local game. Quite a few people had on masks, but the vast majority did not.
We made the student section, I think.
Pardon?
And we're making student.
Were they? Hello, Adam.
So what happened if you didn't want to wear a mask?
Nothing. I started in with the mask on, but it was fogging up my glasses and I couldn't see the steps. So I thought, not sure what's the safest.
I don't know if you looked at any of this stuff, but I just printed
I
everything
did.
off for you.
And I didn't print it all off, but
Oh, don't worry,
printed off a bunch.
I don't know. Paul's just short or not. Didn't sound too enthusiastic about it, so. Everyone have a good weekend? Yeah. It was nice out.
Jim, nice one?
Yeah, went to my brother's cabin up by Garber and had a little family get together, had a barbecue and
Good.
was gonna dig around with some tree stands, but it stormed Sunday morning, so I had to kinda threw that out the window, which didn't hurt my feelings, cause I always have to do all the heavy lifting anyway, so.
That was mine.
Quite the weather changed this week.
Oh, yeah.
Just last week, it was 97, what'd they say on the news this morning? It was 91 on Thursday or Friday. And now it's only 50, it was 50 when I came in. It's-
Supposed to be in the 50s for highs all week, and then next week back to the 70s.
Yeah. I was hoping it wouldn't get that low, but I don't mind the temperature, the rain would, it said 2 to 4 inches of rain.
You don't mind that, it's what gets, to be hard water, white.
Yeah.
Well, it's 9:45, I don't see Paul here. So, you care to start in?
Sure. Well, I sent you a quick synopsis. So, Paul's project is fairly complex. It originally started as a pond. Midway through the design phase, the Corps of Engineers changed their wetland mitigation criteria, which his farm, where he was putting his pond, is a mapped wetland, and hands down, no argument there. And there's a letter from the engineer of what they changed. Essentially, they changed depth of water that would meet emergent wetland criteria from 6 feet to 3 feet. On previous projects, the 6-foot depth offset any mitigation requirements that we would have to do in order to build the project. When they changed their criteria to 3 feet, there's a map that I sent out. Essentially, it eliminated from these projects from being self-mitigating, and so we have to create new wetlands at it's a 2-to-1 ratio, I think, is what the conversion factor is. And that happened in April, roughly sometime in April. And the map this map shows where that we had to do that. It shows the map wetland, which is greatly larger than what the pond we have proposed was. And so we can't just use the idle area as mitigation and create new emerging areas. And so that's the green outline, and that came along with the updated design, which is this. This is what was contracted, but this was also sent in April. And I met with Paul and went over that with him as far as there's about 30,000 extra yards of dirt work involved in creating those additional wetland acres, just because there was about anywhere from 8 to 12 feet of cut that had to be made to get down where a wetland could be created. As far as costs go, I didn't think it was fair from the project's perspective to add that additional cost on the landowners, because the Corps of Engineers changed their permit requirements midway through the project, and the state office agreed, and so Paul did not have to pay for the additional, it's a 10% match requirement, but he did not have to pay for the additional excavation above and beyond what was originally proposed and agreed to. And as part of those discussions, he still wanted to move forward as far as project access. There were some things that he would wanted to see if possible, and I outlined those in my letter. He had a little excavated pond there originally that he dug out years ago that had fish in it, didn't want us to destroy that, which is fine. Under the new pond, that'll roughly be 3 feet under the new water level, so those fish are protected. He also wanted us to try to create some sort of peninsula or walking path out through the wetland creation area, which it just isn't possible from a permit perspective, because that would not meet the Corps of Engineers permit requirements. And the permit letter was sent to Paul, and that's in your packet. And there's quite a bit of detail in the letter. I don't want to read through the whole thing, but essentially we had to create an additional 1.78 acres of wetlands on top of what we were already doing. A few options that were available at the time is, one, we could have delineated the wetland out in hopes that it was smaller than what was mapped, but it actually probably would have delineated out larger. We could have purchased wetland credits from a mitigation bank, but those run at the time about $57,000 a credit. And so we would have been looking at almost $100,000 extra cost, which is way above what doing on-site mitigation was. We don't purchase credits, it's just way too expensive. So if we don't do it on site, landowner walks away. This exact scenario has happened on 4 total sites. Paul's is one of those. One landowner in Benton County walked away. 2 other sites have been contracted out. One was just in a recent bid packet over in Benton County, then one just south of Brandon, or south of Paul's house, about 4 miles at Brian Gator's house, so he has the same exact scenario as far as wetland mitigation requirements. Paul's complaint to me, which he rarely has ever said a word. The contractor has been there for 2 months and has not said a word about anything, which is fine. There hasn't been any real issues. There was an error on the contractor's side. He had some machine grading files that merged a couple different things in his files that weren't supposed to, and so he put fill in part of the deeper pond, parts of the pond that he wasn't supposed to. I called Paul and I told him about it, that the contractor would have to remove that fill to get his depth back that was agreed upon. Contractor's okay with that. I thought everything was fine, and then a few weeks later, he requested to talk to you guys because he wants to dig a deeper pond that this project can't justify spending extra dollars to benefit the landowner only. It's a flood mitigation program. Depth of a pond has literally no impact on this project. So unless we can justify using the extra material in the embankment, there's really no way that this project can spend extra money to create a deeper pool for Paul. And I went over that with him in detail. On his project, they had a little wetland across the road. Because we had all this extra additional fill that had to be removed, we actually used the fill from his pond to build his wetland, so that was roughly just under 6,000 yards of dirt that we used over there, so we didn't have to rip up his cattle pasture. He was fine with that. The only thing he did not do, there was a field access from the west side, 25th Avenue, that was agreed upon to use, drive back and forth to haul material. And that was agreed upon in August of 19, and that's his signature page is there. He rented his farm out in March or April, did not notify the tenant like he was supposed to. It says right in his agreements that you're supposed to notify the tenant. We only needed about 20 feet to drive back and forth. We were gonna go through the crop field, but since he didn't notify the tenant, everything got planted to corn. The corn was probably 4 or 5 feet tall at the time when we started. I got in touch with the tenant, went and explained it to him. Obviously he didn't have any knowledge of it. He was okay with everything. He just wished he would have known ahead of time, so we wouldn't have planted corn on acres that were basically destroyed. The contractor, just out of the generosity of his heart, paid him $500 for an access he already had approved for. Didn't have to do that, but just to calm the storm a little bit, he did that. And that was another complaint that Paul was complaining about, how somehow he ruined his alfalfa field. That, I mean, it was agreed upon access points. I don't know what to say about that. We can reseed some alfalfa when we're done, but that was his other complaint. Some of the side slopes, I guess, he thinks are too steep. If you look on the map of the big wetland, I'll pull it out here. So on the wetland areas, so up on these slopes, we're roughly a 3-to-1 slope, which typically is what we design cut banks to be, and they're more or less stable. I haven't had any erosion issues in any other projects that are at the same slope. This site, however, is real sandy soil, and there was actually a side hill seep about 75% of the entire cut bank, which is causing sloughing. And so we actually put more material on the banks to make it more like a 6 or 7-to-1 slope, which is very gradual. Looks really nice. The site has not been seeded yet. That is coming. I advised the contractor not to seed because it was excessively dry. It would have been a waste of money to throw seed out that wasn't going to grow. So now that we have a little bit more wetter conditions, a little cooler temperatures, contractor's going to go in and excavate out the fill that he misplaced and seed the site, which should alleviate all the issues that were brought up. Again, I don't see any problem with the site. There were some issues, but they're taken care of. The water depth, that's the last thing he brought up. Through his text message on his plans, it says max depth of the pond is 13 feet, which he adamantly argues is not actually there. The last packet is your final design plans. And on sheet, it shows it right there on sheet S1. It looks like a pipe, so it's the pipe system. So this page. So the top of the riser pipe, which is the elevation of your pond, is 873, and there's a drawdown intake pipe, and the bottom of that is 860. 873 minus 860 is 13 feet. That pipe does not sit on the bottom of the pond. There was a gully coming into it and some dirt dug out around it so it doesn't sediment in and plug, essentially. And so this pond is probably 13 to 15, 16 feet deep, right in front of the dam, which is full of water now, at least in front of the dam. The whole pond's not full, but where this pipe is, it is. Because of the dry conditions, there just wasn't a lot of water coming into the site, minus some of the seepage coming out of the site hill. So as far as the depth of the pond goes, it meets the plan specifications, and like I said, we can't excavate out extra material to make a deeper pond for him. There's real no justification to spend these funds on that purpose, unless we, like I said, we can use the material to build the dam. And the dam's already built, and we were right at about the max amount of excavation we can essentially pay for. So that's what he requested to talk about. Again, I told him to be here, he's not here, so, but that's kind of what's going on there. For whatever reason, it's not going to be a problem. He just wants, like every other person who participates in this program, they always ask for bigger, deeper. I mean, that's what everybody wants. And there's only a certain amount that this project can pay for. I tell every landowner, if they want a deeper pond, they can hire out a contractor, even the same contractor's there to do extra excavation. They have every right to do that. This site, they would have to get approval on because there's only certain locations that you could do that. So the Corps of Engineers doesn't get cause trouble. Paul did take advantage of some of that. He had about 30 loads of fill hauled to his house from this site that he paid for on the side. So he was well aware of this, that he could do that, but like I said, if he wanted a deeper pond, he could have hired the additional excavation out. But as far as this project goes, it's not illegal, but it's frowned upon highly at the state level, and they specifically state that this project can't do extra work outside of the contract. And I don't want Benton County to get in the reins of the state and anything like that, so.
Okay.
So I guess in a nutshell, that's kind of what is going on there. He wants you guys to come look at it, but obviously it's muddy today, but be happy to take one or all of you out there if you wanted to go see, but again, it's not quite finished yet. I would imagine next week it will be. It probably would have been done this week if it didn't rain, but it'll be taken care of, it'll be fine. Again, in 2 months of the contractor working there, haven't had one complaint. And if this was an issue, why would it not have come up a month ago or 2 months ago? So.
Well, if we were to go out there, we'd have, as a board, we'd have to go out.
I know, you would have to advertise it as a meeting, so
Yeah.
like I said, if one of you just wants to go, that's fine. I don't know if Paul would necessarily want public on his property, because if you have a public meeting, you have to let the public in, I
Right.
assume, right? So, I mean, that's up to you guys. I'd be happy to take you out there, but it would be muddy today, so.
Good. Is this something you'd have time for, Tracy?
It doesn't have to
When
be
it dries
today.
up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you live up there, up that direction?
No.
No? I don't know.
South.
You're south, okay.
He lives west of Newhall.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like I said, it doesn't have to be today. By all means, I'd be happy to take you up there and show you, because his original pond design was like 2.5 acre pool, but with this wetland mitigation requirements, if you calculate those acres into his pool acres, it'll be 5.5 acres of water. But a lot of that has to be shallow, 3 feet or less of water. And that's not my decision, that's Corps of Engineers' decision. And they, under the Clean Water Act, they regulate any wetland in the United States. And as farmers, I'm sure you're well aware of the ramifications come from degrading a wetland or removing a wetland without going through the proper channels, so.
Well, as long as it's being done as per contract.
It is, everything that was agreed upon with Paul is happening, so.
And he signed off on everything.
That's his landowner and maintenance agreement, that last packet,
Mhm.
that's exactly what went over with in August, and then also 3 months prior to that, or 5, on 4/26, whatever, April sometime. Exact same plan, discussed it probably for an hour on each time at his house, so.
There's no problem if he wants to hire the contractor that's
There
currently
is,
on
he
site.
doesn't even have to hire him, he could hire whomever he wants, but he would have to get approval of where he could excavate out material, because I don't want him to get in trouble with the Corps, because the permit is in his name, not the county's, because he is the owner of the property, he has to maintain it as such. So if he went where we created all these wetlands and dug a hole, and the Corps of Engineers decided to do a site visit, which they very well can, he could see some very bad things coming from the Corps. So I don't want that to happen.
Sure.
And it says any modifications to this project has to be in writing, so.
Well, sounds like you.
Like I said,
Before, dotted your i's and crossed your t's.
I go through this with literally every landowner that we do a project with, and there might be 1 or 2 others that are just sticklers about minute details that
Sure.
don't matter, but other than that, I mean, Paul's been really pleasant to work with. We built him a grass waterway last year, or in, spring of 19, right behind it on the south side of his house, and I think 7 months after it was done, he finally said made some comment about how the contractor trashed his property, which I, to this day, don't know where that came from, and neither does the contractor, so I don't know. There's really not much I can do about that unless I don't hear about it,
Sure.
you know.
And if you don't know about it, you can't do anything.
Exactly, and, you know, on his waterway, it silted in with some sand off his field, which the contractor went and removed. They're required for the contractor, so. As far as the county and the contractor go, we've done everything we can do within those constraints of this program for
Well,
him.
it's gonna look as bad as it does, or as bad as it will today, once it gets all grass.
Well, I can tell you, it looked a lot worse a month ago when they had everything ripped up. Like, they have everything smoothed out and they feel cultivated about everything they can. They just didn't seed it because it was so dry. So, you know, there might be a little bit of real erosion because we didn't seed anything, but contractor has to go in and prepare the seed bed prior to seeding, and so that'll all get taken care of. And our seed mix on this site will have cereal rye in it, and so that should grow and stabilize the soil within a week, as long as it doesn't turn 90 degrees and dry again, so.
Well, as the year progresses, the likelihood of that happening goes down.
Yeah, so thankfully we got some rain, so when we do go out there and seed, the rye will germinate relatively quickly, and that'll persist through next spring when you usually get more erosion. So we're gonna be doing that probably the next couple weeks, getting that seeded and done and checked off. So like I said, everything, it's been taken care of. It just, I don't know, for whatever reason he wanted to talk to you guys or show you why he's having issues, which I really don't think there are issues, but.
Well, Tracy will get in touch with you then.
Yeah, we might want to wait till it's probably next week when it's a little drier out. And I can show you, there's, like I said, another site that has the exact same scenario on the way to his house. We can go look at that too.
Gators.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's exact same scenario. Right now it looks pretty, it needs to be smoothed out, but they're not done yet. So they got about a foot left to go on their embankment, but then just finish grading and some riprap, but I don't think they're gonna be working this week, judging by the weather forecast, so. We'll do her next week after it dries out a little bit and take you out there and show you, so.
Second half of this.
So I wanted to give you guys an update on our projects. but I did not get the updated budget from the grant administrator yet, so I can kind of give you a verbal on how everything goes. So we had we have 5 contracts that were signed, or 5 bid packets. There was numerous contracts signed. The first project packet is complete. That was signed and checked off on July 7th. That contract was for $468,000. There was 4 ponds of wetland and 3 grass waterways in that. Total contract dollar value in that was about $18,000 over the contracted amount, simply because there was a little extra riprap in all the projects and then on the one pond, but the grass didn't grow right away, and so there was a lot of wind erosion on the dam, so we added riprap on that. So typically there's extra cost for rock because you can't load a truck exactly to 50 ton or whatever the dollar amount is, which is fine. The third project packet was the largest. It was like there were 6 contracts in there, roughly I think $3 million, give or take, total contract dollars for all contractors. I would say that is probably 60 to 70% done. Those will all be done by December this year in that third bid packet. There's a few projects that are still remaining that have to be done and some items that have to be addressed, but that'll be done by December this year. That's when the contract deadline was for those projects. So that's exciting. We did have several smaller project packets, 3A and 3B, which were large ponds and wetlands. Those again will be done this fall. So probably by December of this year, we should have roughly 15 or so ponds or wetlands completed within Benton County. And then the most recent bid packet was with coal excavating. I think it was 2-3 months ago the board signed off on that. They're just going to be getting started probably this month sometime here south of Garrison, and those will wrap up in June of next year for sure. At least that's when the contract deadline is. We have one last group of projects to bid out, which the grant administrator is working on the environmental stuff right now. It should be wrapping up this week, I hope. And Hart property permit is at the Corps of Engineers office, so hopefully that comes back a go. And then we'll probably have another round of bidding. Hopefully, I'm guessing probably by November of this year we'll have all the permits in place, all the paperwork done, signed off on, and then that'll be the remaining project dollars through next year, not allocated, but contracted out to be constructed. And then we won't have any more projects unless we get more money from the state or somewhere else.
South of town, is that done now?
For the city?
No.
Oh, Luke
Further
Heckle?
south, yeah.
That is done, yes. So that was finished probably 3 weeks ago. The fence got put in 2 weeks ago, right after the windstorm, but that's done, seeded. I have not been back there since it was seeded. I imagine it looks fine. There was 3 tile lines that fed into that site, and they ran full for all the way up till July. Now they're bone dry, so there's no water in it unless today. But that'll fill up once the tiles start running again. But that turned out really nice. Again, I'd be happy to take anyone there to go look at it, but until I get a little green on it, it's kind of hard to see everything. So.
With regard to this project on the south side of Benton, where's that at or what's going on now?
So as far as I know, Chris Ward, city administrator, called me and said the city has officially acquired the property. They have the deed. Since everything happened with that project, they got lumped in with the rest of the projects remaining that I've been working on, and so now it's just basically ranked out, and it's lower priority-wise than others. And so I've been working with the Department of Agriculture from their water quality initiative to pick up that project because it's ready to go. We just didn't have a place to put all the dirt, and I'm 90%, 95% sure the Department of Agriculture is going to do that project. So that's good news. I'm kind of sour about it as far as this project's perspective, but basically was misled for an entire year and bid out the
Yeah.
project, and the Board of Regents squashed that bug instantly, so
Yeah.
that's not mine, not the county's fault. So other projects go to the head of the list that we're working on, and if we, like I said, I think the Department of Agriculture is gonna pick up that project, so. I just don't know when that would, it'd be a next year thing, I'm almost certain of it, so.
To me, it didn't make sense them hauling that dirt in there. They're gonna turn around, if they're gonna do the project, haul it back out.
Where's that?
South of town here, or in town,
Where we were,
the Corbett property, yeah.
yeah, so we have to, so that's all excavated out to build the wetland, which that's what the city wanted to do, so.
They brought dirt in from.
Yeah, I noticed they did that, I'm not sure, I didn't ask them why they did that.
Yeah.
I mean, there is gonna be like a parking spot there that is higher, they couldn't leave that in, but that, I saw that too, and it scratched my head a little bit, but I'm working with the Department of Ag to pick up that project, so I'm fairly certain that they will, take that on.
Then you've got in here possible closed session. Do you want a closed session?
What do you think?
I think if you just get a motion to approve your own claims, that'd be.
Yeah, so I don't think we need to go, it's just my timesheet and my claim process.
So normally-
We've been getting it signed by Jennifer at ECOG, and that has become a lot more difficult to do because of all this COVID stuff. She more or less works from home and she's not in the office anymore, and so she is, but she isn't. When she comes in, it's midday to through the evening, and to get things in on time, it just doesn't work. And it'd be nice if I could just sign them and hand them in. Essentially, I'm just a department head anyways, and I can't imagine there's a third-party verification system for all of your department heads that someone else signs off
So
on all
like if
your.
you guys, I thought maybe we could do a formal motion that you could let him approve those on his own. I still sign off on like the bigger.
So Haley still does her own
And
thing.
Gina and I talked to him, you know, all the other departments bring in their bills.
Yeah, so I gotta bring in all my
And he
bills
could
now.
do that, so.
Which is fine, originally it was email them in, you
Well,
want
we're
them
just
hard
getting
copies, that's
into
fine, I don't have
emails
a
and
problem
wanted
with that,
something,
so.
so.
But just for simplicity, for the remainder of the project, because I just don't think Jennifer's gonna be in the office much in the foreseeable future, and to cause less hassle in the auditor's office, and so I can get paid and
We
claims
don't
in
wanna
on
miss
time.
anything important either, so.
Right.
That way if he brings them in person, we know they're in the
Yeah.
county and ready to go.
And that's fine, I have no problem with that, I don't wanna cause a burden on
So
Haley and her
you wanna do
staff.
that on all of them too, not just your personal timesheet, how about like all the contractor bills too?
Yeah, I talked to Gene about that, so I'll bring all the contractor bills,
That's a
hard
big deal.
copies, because I've been emailing them up until now, but that's fine, I can easily do that.
So if you guys are okay with that, that's all we wanted, a formality.
So we
type
need a
thing.
motion to allow that.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Gary made the motion, Tracy seconded to allow Adam as department head to present his own bills and to the auditor's office for payment, correct?
I'm a little, you're giving these down Cedar Rapids all the time, but then they come back here to be paid?
Mhm.
So the bills come to my email, right from the contractors. They send their claims to the engineer, he verifies quantities and amounts. They send me a formal document that says, we reviewed and approved this, recommend payment of X dollar amount to this contractor. The county withholds 5% of it, all claims, and so that gets paid at the end after everything's checked off. I look through those claims, make sure that everything is good, because I'm the one that's on the job site all the time. And then I send them to Gina and Haley to say, put this on the next round of claims for you guys to approve payment for the contractors. And so it's a way for me to keep on top of what the contractor's doing and make sure that they're not invoicing things that they shouldn't be. And it has happened. There's one contractor that 4 paid claims in a row, they were trying to claim work that they didn't even do. So it's been a good system, it works really well. And obviously the engineer, he's not visiting the sites on a frequent basis, and so just to make sure that work's getting done correctly and then, they get paid in a timely manner. That's,
The Easy Cog, isn't it?
EasyCog does not sign anything for the contractors. All they're doing is Jennifer signs my timesheet and my travel claim.
We kind of subcontracted with them to be our grant administrator.
So they're the grant administrator, but as far as for working for Benton County, she has been signing my timesheet, my claim. That's it. Contractor stuff comes from you guys.
So we're allowing him to present to the auditor's office.
Without going through,
Yeah,
Jeff.
and then you'll send her copies or whatever.
I can give her copies.
Yeah.
She doesn't need them. It's,
I still go through them with the gaps.
yeah, so when they do the state drawdowns, they do make sure that everything's in order before the state will then reimburse the county. So,
We got a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
No, sir.
okay.
Hope life just got easy.
It should. I hope.
You can see she might have yours done too.
I got it.
Oh, you did already?
Yeah, I stopped in there
Okay,
before
I remember we talked about it. so
Yeah, she was just wrapping them up when
Yep.
I got here, so. I think that's all I have, so.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. You're gonna hang on to this, aren't you, Tracy?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Good work.
Yeah, you can keep those copies. Everything here, I have original copies down in my office, see what happens. If you don't want that, Gary, I can take it.
Okay. Is there anything else, gentlemen?
Anything else for next week that you're thinking
I
of?
don't believe so.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay.